Hey everyone, we know that trust has become the new digital currency. And today I'm with Trua and their 2025 Trust Survey. Fascinating insights. Top line, consumers now rank platform safety and transparency over price or convenience. That's a pretty amazing insight. Raj, how are you?
I'm doing well, Evan. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for being here. Before we dive into the Trust Survey, for those who aren't familiar with Trua, how do you describe yourself these days?
Well, Trua is a provider of a reusable trust credential. So you can use it for background check, a typical employment background screening for platforms or for any of those other trust and safety issues. So one of the fundamental problems we have in society today is every time somebody has to trust you, you have to keep giving your personal information over and over again. Wouldn't be great to get it once, just like a driver's license? You go through a vetting process, get it once, and then you show that. And then in this digital world, you want to be able to use it and attach it to any verification that is required in any transaction. And that's what we have built based on our experience in developing in my previous life, like TSA pre-check, for example. Right. And then we have studied the MDL proliferation that is slow and steady, but it's going to take a long, long time. But we have a shortcut for that, where you can combine both the MDL requirement and the TSA pre-check for the entire commercial world.
An amazing opportunity. So let's dive into the trust survey. What stood out to you most? What surprised you about how consumers view safety today?
Well, the biggest eye opener in the near universal is the near universal intensity, I would say, of safety demands. If I recall, like 80+% or 85+% say a platform safety reputation is essential to even try it. And then 60% will pay a premium for verified checks. Right? What surprised me is how this isn't just nice to have anymore. It used to be nice to
Mm,
have. People would just log in instantly and start doing things, but it's not anymore. It's a hard filter for many, many people. Even more striking, only 18% feel very confident. Platforms actually screen and vet providers properly. If I'm getting a care.com service or whatever service that I'm getting online, there is a verify and then trust somebody as opposed to trust but verify, right? It's
mm.
right off the bat. We have changed the paradigm to verify first and then trust. So that's a big thing. The gap between expectation and reality is massive, and consumers are voting with their wallets and feet. Gen Z as a low bar, 77% want background checks versus 91% boomers
Wow.
are sometimes counterintuitive. I expect digital natives, the Gen Zs, obviously, to be more paranoid, not less. And that's one, even though 77% for 91%, it's all the way up there, but still, I would have expected Gen Zs to be screaming a lot more. But, this is still high up there.
Yeah. Why do you think trust has overtaken price and convenience as the top factor for users? What's going on?
It's fundamental fear and fatigue from
Mm,
endless breaches and AI scams
mm.
has flipped the hierarchy. Price was king when risk felt abstract way back when we had e-commerce and digital transactions were picking up. 55% of them now cite fraud as the number one risk, and
Wow.
75% fear bots pretending to be humans. In fact, I recently wrote a post about agentic AI commerce, and that's going to be a nightmare coming up. Convenience still matters, but when your home address or social security or financial data is on the line, as in like job boards, ride shares, and dating apps, one bad experience erases years of cheap, fast wins. Trust is now the entry ticket, in my opinion. Without it, price and speed are irrelevant. The survey shows actually I just made some notes here. 35% prioritize trust and safety measures when hiring, just behind pricing, proving it's no longer a secondary concern.
Amazing. And, beyond pricing, and the survey shows 86%, that's basically everyone, won't use a platform without a proven safety reputation. Doesn't that change how companies should design its user experiences, its customer experiences?
Yep. Safety must be the first thing users see and feel, not buried in, 3 layers below in settings. Right up front, they should be screaming at the consumer, your safety is of prime importance for us, and here's what you can do, right? Think about many platforms. They go like 3 steps, 5 steps into the settings to figure out what the heck is all going on. So it should be default, right? I mean, that's what it should be. I know people are interested in collecting a lot of their data. So onboarding, for example, replace sign up in 30 seconds with get verified in 30 seconds and start using, right? So visual hierarchy, for example, verified badges, Trua like trust scores or something similar to that. And last checked, for example, timestamps should also be right there, because that way you are engaging the consumers in this journey, right? It cannot be a dictatorial aspect either by businesses. Consumers and businesses have to work together in this whole big transformation and what I call the paradigm shifting process. And I say friction by design. People are saying, oh, it has to be frictionless. Forget that in this day and age. It should be friction by design. That means you're not letting any crooks just come into your platform, right? Friction by make unverified profiles visually downgraded. Gray out, lower in search to nudge behavior without banning. Right. Progressive disclosure, for example, let users opt into deeper checks, right? If I want to XYZ, I get this much check. And then if I want to further up, I got to verify your bankruptcy. If you have bankruptcy to get this additional loan or additional X, Y, and Z, right? I have to check some of those progressive stuff to make sure that the safety and security of all are maintained on the platforms, right? And driver passed through a check 3 days ago, front and center right there, or some other check, right? So right in the check. So I, as a seeker of a service, for example, feel comfortable at the same time. So the dynamic is here is service seeker and service givers, for example, in all of these platforms. If it's just one-time transaction, yes, you can get away with a lot of things. But if it is a long-term relationship transaction, right? I'm going to seek service from this platform, and the platform is going to provide me this service, right? So you have to have an established protocol to say, okay, I am going to continuously screen and verify and vet on an ongoing basis.
Amazing. So really striking is 60% of people say they pay more for verified background checks. Consumers are notoriously stingy. They don't want to pay for anything, much less more. Is trust tech becoming its own kind of product category?
Oh, absolutely, right? Trust is the new currency, as you pointed out in your opening statement, right? Trust is the new currency. 60% or whatever the number, I forget, I think 60 or 70% are willing to pay more for checks. Mirrors the rise of premium, like antivirus or VPNs. Once it used to be a niche product, now it's sort of mainstream, in my opinion. Think about that, right? Antivirus and VPN's usage has become sort of a mainstream for many, many people. So that's why we are pretty confident that Trua's reusable blockchain-backed credentials are the blueprint, right? It's like a portable digital passport that follows you across multiple platforms, whether it's Airbnb, TaskRabbit, or LinkedIn, or any of those things. So you take it with you. You can attach it to any platform. That way you don't have to keep doing it over and over again.
Now in its 5th season, Inspiring Tech Leaders is the podcast that talks about technology strategies, challenges, and breakthroughs shaping today's digital world. Each week, Inspiring Tech Leaders brings you technology reviews and interviews with visionary CIOs, CTOs, and industry pioneers. Whether you're leading a tech team or just love innovation, Inspiring Tech Leaders is your go-to source for inspiration and real-world advice. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform.
Amazing. AI bots and deepfakes are now a major threat. They're also going mainstream. I just recently signed up for Sora, which is now the #1 app on the App Store, and deepfakes are now going, mainstream. It's the most popular app behind ChatGPT ever introduced, and it's basically making your own deepfakes for fun and entertainment. But there's obviously a lot more nefarious uses. In this new visual environment, what role should visual verification or identity play? Because now deepfakes are everywhere in everyone's hands, essentially.
Yeah. So this is going back to my pet peeve about when people say identity, it's not verifying your login credentials, it's human identity verification, right? Are you a human being on the other side of the transaction? It's going to get even worse with this agentic commerce. I'm just telling you this. It's a disaster waiting to happen. So it's a mandatory real-time human proof signals have to be part of the transaction. Liveness checks for high stake interactions, dating, hiring, those kinds of stuff. I'm sure you've heard the big issue about the North Korean hiring and recruiting scam, right? That was a classic thing. You never bothered to check the human identity on the other end. And then Trua continuous verification is also important, for example, right? So once you get this a trust credential for life, and then you can authenticate on an ongoing basis using your face and liveness detection, right? Yeah, it's not going to solve. There are people that are out there to just scam you or do something. That's always going to happen. I always say if you can cover 98% of the society, 2%, yes, you can. Today we are the opposite, right? Only 2% they think that it's a safe trans, and 98% are potential landmines. So we are working hard, twice as hard, putting systems and boundaries and blockades and so on and so forth. And then it's coming to a grinding halt in some cases. In some cases, it's flying by pretty fast because the people are not able to decipher between a real transaction and a fake transaction. It's just becoming really, really bad with AI. And I think, they're just about slightly trying to catch up to security and trust and safety on various platforms. I call digital platforms. And then boom, comes the AI. And now you're going to work twice as hard to catch up to that.
Yeah, it's incredible how it's every category, job boards, dating, on and on and on. So how do you standardize trust? Is it a platform like Trua that without overcomplicating identity?
Yeah. So, but see, identity, we focus only on the human aspect of the identity, right? You're not focused on login, password, authentication, right? That's no. But these days, you have to verify that the other side is human, and okay, let's assume this agentic commerce is going to take off, right? And you granted permission for your agent or a bot, I call it, to do a transaction, but you never authorize it to do more than X, Y, and Z, or never authorize to do 3 times a day. But somehow it gets wound up in that, and it's only a matter of time before that becomes a nightmare, and you're going to throw your device in the water and just walk away because this is just beyond thing. So you need to have, and so the problem of verification of human identity is a big one. How do you solve? A lot of people are now saying, okay, I'll verify this, I'll put this system in place, and so on and so forth. It becomes onerous on both the relying party and the consumer. I have to carry multiple passwords. I have to carry X, Y, and Z. If you standardize that, which is basically having a trust credential for life, which is basically codified your social date of birth and all of your personal attributes into a reusable token, for example. Then you carry that token. You can screw around with that. Part of my friends screw around with the token. Nothing is going to happen. But because nobody can decipher that token has certain attributes about you, and then you carry that with you, and you can attach it to a whole lot of transactions, interactions. And that is the best part about having a reusable trust credential.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the FTC has warned about rising AI scams. Beyond warning, people are overloaded by warnings and alerts and doom predictions. But should regulators or platforms kind of take the lead in tackling this new wave of deception? I mean, you're in DC. You're involved in much of the regulatory side over the years.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship for us with the regulators, because regulators are stuck in industrial age. They say, okay, because their fundamental paradigm is, here's a consumer, here's a relying party, or businesses, and businesses, they put onerous on the business of putting all kinds of band-aids. It's okay, this, you have to do this to the consumer, you cannot do this to the consumer. And then you keep adding to that particular friction over and over again. And then somebody is trying to find a workaround that. Because think about the cost of doing business has quadrupled in the last couple of decades, just for the same type of interaction or transaction, because of the regulatory and then the legal burden, right? Whether it's wrongful claims or open for ambulance chases all the time and say, okay, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. So keep it simple, co-opt the consumer as well. I've always said there's nothing wrong. You're treating consumers as dumb. No, they're pretty smart. If they have a cell phone, they are smart enough to read a few sentences and say, okay, I shouldn't be doing that, I shouldn't be doing it. Co-opt them in this journey so that they are part of the equation as well. So, when you co-opt, what happens is a whole bunch of regulatory guidelines can be thrown out, because they exist only to protect the consumer, because the consumer did not have any visibility into their data. Now you're providing data visibility into the consumer, to the consumer, and have them verify as well. So that's the biggest thing that you can have. And then there's no magic wand to this, because the scammer is always going to be there. How do you minimize without exponentially increasing the cost of doing business?
Yeah, really well said. And it's not just cost. I mean, there are brands that turn trust into genuine competitive advantage. I think of Apple, for example. They seem to do a good job, at least on the security side. Are there other examples of brands that are getting trust and security right? What can we learn from them?
Yeah, Apple has always been a forefront, right? For example, I have my settings done in my Apple, right? People don't understand the location service and all of those things. But when they do install a patch or a upgrade, all of my settings are saved. Many platforms, you have to go back and redo the whole privacy settings, which is kind of, people don't realize that, because your downloads are automatic these days. They update your software when you sleep, and then you think hunky dory, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, how is this coming along, right? So I give 1,000% marks to Apple in this instance, because they will be the privacy company, in my opinion.
Yeah,
They do a good
fantastic.
job. There are a handful of other companies that focus on these things, because what has happened is, in the whole 15 years of digital transformation, people have figured out that your data is more valuable to them. So I'm going to figure out how to extract that out of you. But if you put the data on you and you control it, right? We are on to something in the future where you can start monetizing your data by voluntarily giving it to people to say, hey, go ahead and market whatever services you have to me in exchange for, $2 per transaction, whatever the, exchange for some monetary exchange. That way I get to keep my profile up to date. I'm spending a couple of bucks, but I'm getting that returned through some other means. Just like your credit card, for example, right? Some of the premium credit cards, they charge you a annual fee, but they give you lots of credits and other things, whether it's a $300 credit towards your next flight ticket or X, Y, and Z. You get something back, and if you add up that's a pretty big chunk. It's no different.
Yeah, it's interesting. All the social media platforms, including LinkedIn and Facebook, many others, offer a value-added fee where you get verified and you have a customer support, and it seems like a no-brainer. What are the most urgent industries that need to address this? I'm thinking healthcare, really challenging environment,
All of the
transportation. Yeah.
digital platforms providing any type of service, right? I'm not talking about buying a pencil or the internet. I'm talking about any type of service that is provided on digital platform, marketplace platform, because that's where, here's the problem, right? The gig economy, I call it, right? In the gig economy, there are what, plus or minus, the last time I checked from the Department of Labor, 60 or 65 million people are in the gig economy, and I'm sure there's increased. Yeah, in just the United States alone, right? So they're providing they're taking all kinds of jobs, and every time they go, they have to provide their personal information so that the platform can verify that, right? Keep doing that because they're desperate for a job or desperate for a gig, so to speak. And what happens is that data starts storing in multiple locations, prime for hacking. So instead, if you give I'm just giving you a good credential, right? I'm calling it good credential or trust credential. Hey, you keep this. Anybody who wants to hire, whether it's a restaurant worker, your busboy quit this morning, you need a busboy for this evening restaurant. How are you going to verify that person is legitimate to work and come on board the same day? If you have a trust credential that was already pre-vetted, hey, you just verify that. It takes them 30 seconds or less to verify. Yep, you have no background issues, come work in my restaurant, right? So high-speed onboarding once you verify it once. And then the economy in general is pretty easy because you're not waiting for 2 weeks to onboard a new, whether it's a new employee or a new contractor or whatever it is. It's pretty fast.
Fantastic.
So I think gig economy is the biggest target for this because there's a lot of churn, there's a lot of turnover, there's a lot of uncertainties because it's not a long-term relationship between the worker or the care provider or a service provider and a service seeker. It's it's a time bound, but it's mostly transactional. So I need a plumber this afternoon, quick. If I have a plumber who's already verified, it's easy. And I get to verify that as well as a seeker.
That's so important. I mean, my daughter occasionally does babysitting gigs on care.com. As an example, you couldn't think of anything more important letting a stranger into your home to babysit your kids on a platform.
Yep. And then the key is that I, as a seeker of service, I should be able to verify the person coming into my house at any given time and say, hey, instead of asking you, do you have a criminal record? It's hey, do you have a Trua score, for example, right? A Trua score is similar to a FICO score. I can just make a quick judgment and I can say, okay, Trua score is X, Y, and Z. I push a button, it's verified. Yep, you're not lying, and you're showing it to me live. Think about the power of that. You have decentralized that and democratized the whole trust verification and trust issuance.
So if I'm listening or watching to this episode, what's my call to action? Maybe I'm a professional, just an individual. Maybe I'm an employer. Maybe I'm a product manager at DoorDash or what have you. How do I work with you? What are the initial 1, 2, 3 steps?
It's a very easy, right? But because we are doing this trust as a service, so to speak, it's very easy. Who are you have a seekers and service providers, have them get their Trua credential. It's there, and then anybody can. We have simplified it, very similar to a credit bureau, for example. The credit bureau, you don't go collect all the financial data. You just go to the credit bureau and say, hey, what's a credit score and what's a credit report look like? It's exactly what it is. And then we have even made it even more, taken out all the issues with the standard credit bureau. We have tokenized it. It's in a blockchain. The data doesn't spill and leak or any of those kinds of stuff. So it'll start coming together in terms of, okay, this person has verified identity, that includes biometric and biographic data, by the way, not just your facial. And then I've also verified their address, so it's further assurance. And then you have step-up verification for different use cases, right? Oh, for this particular use case, I need to verify criminal. It's done. Oh, for this particular gig, it's a tutoring gig. I want to verify the education. That's done. Oh, in this particular case, I need a plumber, professional license. The plumbing license has been verified and no criminal check, right? So you can have those kinds of stuff pretty easy. And it's easy as 1, 2, 3, so to speak, as they say.
Well, very, very practical.
Interface that businesses can easily apply. It's an API-based SDK, whatever it is. Within 24 to 48 hours, they can be up and running in our platform.
Well,
which
Raj,
we're
you're a
not doing.
light. You're a light in the darkness. This is such an amazing opportunity. Onwards and upwards.
Yep.
What are you looking forward to as we head into the year end? You have so much going on. Um, but maybe talk about what's next as you think about an industry standard metric, for trust.
This survey has actually opened up so much. As I was probably skeptical and say, oh, everybody's probably lazy. They want to just get over. I think the transformation and the trust as a currency is happening. It's for real. It's not anymore nice to have. It has become a must have. That is the biggest eye opener for me. Again, the intensity with which this is being looked at, and we are very well positioned to deliver this, because at the end of the day, I really want the societal good, right? Because I want to protect the consumers. At the same time, I need to protect the businesses / relying parties. You can't have one without the other. Otherwise, the trust is broken. So this is a means of doing both sides good. And I think I'm appealing to all the businesses to step up to this and stop collecting PII and let them have their own trust credential that you can verify, because their technology is there to deliver this. Whether it's us delivering or another company delivering, it's there. I really want this done for the society, because everybody should have this, just like a driver's license, right? You don't go to a DMV every time somebody needs to verify you. You get it once. It's the same concept. It's a digital in the digital world, and then we have combined all of the technologies that are available into this tokenized trust credential.
Well, you make it seem so obvious, but congratulations on actually bringing this to market. Onwards and upwards.
Yep. Thank you,
Thanks,
Evan.
Raj.
Yep,
Thanks,
appreciate
and thanks everyone for listening, watching, sharing this episode. And be sure to check out the TV show, TechImpact.tv on Bloomberg TV and Fox Business. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.